All right, welcome back to the AM podcast with Coach Jason. All kids got to move, but sometimes it's not that easy. I am joined here today with Lakshmi Jayanthi. Thank you very much for being here, and please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thanks, Jason, for having me. Yeah, my name is Lakshmi Jayanthi. I am a mom of two boys. My older one just turned 11, younger one is 8, and they are very active in sports. And I am the founder of Pickup Sports, which is a mobile app that we just launched that encourages kids to play pickup sports. And kids can form their own teams, form their own games, and challenge other neighborhood teams to a game. It's kind of the laid-back version of youth sports for kids.
Fantastic. See, this is a perfect complement to what I'm doing. So this
Yeah.
helps kids get connected with sports, and this is an actual app. So I could download this on my phone, right?
Correct. Yes, you can download it on your phone right now. From a marketing perspective, we've been concentrating our efforts in the Atlanta area. The app is so much like a dating app, like it only works if other people are in it. So we kind of have to go, city by city, neighborhood by neighborhood in order to grow. So we got a lot of kids and we call them play pods, playing over kind of where we are in the Atlanta area, and then really testing out what works and what doesn't. But technically, you could use it anywhere. You just may not find other kids in there yet.
Yeah,
In your
that
area.
makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
hmm
Exactly, because
hmm
this app that we're talking about here, I have so many questions. I want to know all
Yeah,
about it. So
sure.
this is something, it's a tool, of
Mhm.
course, and you could use this, it sounds like, to connect and plan an actual kind of like a fitness play date, is what it sounds like to me. Is that accurate?
Yeah. I mean, the main goal behind the app is really to provide an alternative for kids um, aside from organized sports leagues. So, as you probably know, once you kind of hit that 9, 10 age range, it's when you start seeing organized sports weeding kids out. It's either time commitment, skills, money. There's a number of reasons why you start seeing a drop off in kids playing organized sports. But a lot of these kids still want to play. They just want to play for fun. They want to play with their friends, but there's no opportunities if you don't make the school team, if you don't. So our goal was to really provide that alternative for kids, and give them a way to just play. So yeah, kids can organize themselves. So what we're doing is we're kind of gamifying sports, which sounds crazy that we have to do that, but we need to incentivize kids to get off the screens, go outside and play. So we gamify it by kids can earn points for playing outside. They earn points for inviting their friends, and then those points add up and they can win prizes. And the goal behind that is to really get these kids to kind of self-organize, like we used to do naturally when I was a kid, but it's happening less and less now.
Incredible, right?
Yeah.
So gamification,
Yeah.
just imagine that, right? So your kids
Yeah.
are actually having fun, they're playing a game and doing something that's actually good for them. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, just
Yeah.
just imagine. This is like crazy talk. What are you talking
Yeah.
about? I can't imagine that.
I
Kids
know.
together having fun and moving around like
Right.
outside, actually
Yeah.
outside, like physically moving around and having fun together with your friends.
Right. And
Oh
you
my
can earn
God.
prizes for that. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Can only imagine, what a
Yeah.
dream. So
Yeah.
very cool. And I didn't realize how, there's extra incentives, right? So it's sort of like a game within a game, right? You could
It
earn
is.
points
And the
by
reason for
connecting.
that is that when you think about why we're losing kids when it comes to fitness and sports and any physical activity, we're losing kids to, not only the intensity of youth sports, but we're also losing them to YouTube and video games. So it's really difficult to compete with video games. But one way that we thought of doing it is by gamifying movement, gamify sports. So we either, you build it in the actual process of meeting up with kids meeting up with kids, but also in the actual games they play. So we kind of have, game plans for each of the kids, like challenges they can accomplish, things like that built into the various games that they play.
That's
So
perfect. Exactly.
yeah,
I love
so
that. And,
yeah,
that's a big part of what I try to do in my own program as well.
yes,
Gamify things, make it fun, so
yeah,
that way the kids can keep going, right? If they're actually
right.
enjoying it, isn't that going to help them actually keep moving and do it more
Yeah.
than just once, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's all about fun.
Yeah, all about
Yeah.
fun, it's sort of like sometimes I think about eating like your vegetables, and like the goal is not to eat a vegetable, right? You
Mhm.
can't just like check off the box like, well, I did it,
Right, right.
right? It's like, okay, right? There's no like one workout that you're going to have that's like so great, you don't need to move ever again, right?
Right,
You didn't
yeah.
like accomplish it, right? So the
You
goal
can
is to
only
keep
dream, yep.
moving. That's great. So this
Yeah.
app sounds really helpful.
Thank you,
So
yeah.
now, sports, like you mentioned, it gets more competitive, especially as you're getting older, especially,
Mhm.
when you're a teenager and you're in high school. So this sounds great. It's especially, for kids who are not always like fierce competitors,
Right,
maybe they're feeling
right.
kind of left behind and they
Yeah.
just want to get out there and play around, have fun with their friends.
Yeah, yeah, and that's exactly what we've seen. I mean, we've had kids show up. We call them play pods. So we've had a pickup sports play pod meetup. I've had kids that have only played soccer for like 9 years straight since they were 3 years old, and then they've never tried baseball before, but feel like it's too late because now they're a teenager and they've never played, and they come up and they're a little scared about it first, but then they try it, and it's like a kind of a safe place to do that because you're not just joining some league, you're playing pickup baseball for fun. So whether you play a different sport or you've never played a sport at all, the inclusivity behind it, because it's all based in fun, makes it more reachable to most kids and for parents, because parents don't have time to shuttle kids around to all these different sports and then spend, hundreds of dollars per kid. Um, or just to find out that they can't do it or they don't like it. So it's one of those things like, how do you make it more accessible for everybody?
Yeah, that's a really great point.
Yeah.
Think about these parents, they're juggling so much right
Mhm.
now. And now it's like if little Johnny or whoever you've got is like signed up for the whole league, like 6 months of soccer or something like that, and there's equipment and traveling, there's game day, there's practices, and this kind of like, it sounds like your app is a great alternative where you wouldn't be so locked into a rigid schedule.
Correct. That's exactly what it is. You're not locked in. You play on your own time and schedule. So the kids or parents can create the schedule, like, okay, we're only going to meet Saturdays at 10 a.m. You decide it, you pick your location. It can be a backyard that's big enough, or it can be a park nearby. And then you invite your friends to come and they can mark if they're coming or not. Those friends can invite other friends. So you can kind of control everything, to really just organize your own pickup games.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. I love this so
Yeah.
much, right?
Yeah.
Because
Thank
now the scheduling I have found
Uh-huh.
is just such a monster. This is
It
like
is.
such a big issue for all these kids. Like they have different schedules. Like, oh,
Yes.
what about Tuesdays? What about
Yeah.
Wednesdays
Yeah.
afternoon? Like, oh, I'm going to be here. I got to go. Oh, sometimes too, you got multiple kids.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's I'm dealing with that. Yeah.
More
Yeah.
complicated, right? Because
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
well, I want to bring so and so to their soccer game, but
But I gotta bring this kid to chess. Yeah, yeah.
exactly, and it might not even be a sport, right? There's
Right,
other
right.
activities. It's chess or it's like piano
Music
lessons
and
or whatever
yeah.
it is.
Yep.
And so it's hard to make that connection and get the logistics down. So this app sounds like it solves a lot of these problems for busy parents.
Yeah, I mean, that is literally my life right now. I mean, it's like I got two kids that are involved in a lot of activities, and until I really built out pickup sports, we were in multiple organized sports leagues. And now my husband, he's a sports medicine physician. He has
Mhm.
expertise in youth sports injuries, and he kept seeing these like problems with overuse injuries and burnout, and it was just like, why are we doing not just we, but why as a whole are we making sports so intense at a young age? I mean, anything, not just sports, even with music, it can get too intense at a young age. um our goal as parents should really just be to give them a love for that, like a love for playing, a love for learning a new sport or learning a new skill. And when you add the intensity, or what I call the professionalization of it, like making sports like a professional, like we're going to draft the kids, we're going to pick the best one, we're going to weed them out, or even in music or anything, it's when it becomes professionalized, you lose those kids. So it's kind of like, it was like a wake up call, like, why are we making it so complicated? Just keep it simple, make it easier on parents. There is no need to make your schedule like a nightmare. So that was kind of the impetus behind giving not just kids another option, but give parents another option to, it shouldn't be all or nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. That's a great point, right? We
Yeah.
don't have to act like your 12-year-old is going to the NBA,
Right.
like, or the Olympics or
Right.
whatever it is, where it's like super serious all the time. And then, there's such a split, like you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, it's all or nothing, right? So you're either
Mm-hmm.
all in and, like, hey, I'm really serious. I'm training whatever sport, lacrosse, soccer, basketball, it
Right.
doesn't matter. And then like there are so many kids out there where if they're not competitive, they're going to sit out. Like even if they are
Yeah.
on the team,
Right.
right? If you're not quite as fast or whatever, okay, well, we're trying to
Yeah.
win this game. So we got to put the fast kids in. We got to put the strong kids in,
Right.
the tall kids, So then
Right.
there are so many kids that they sit on the bench instead of
Yes.
getting more play time, right?
Yes.
And then the gap gets wider,
Oh my gosh. Oh, you're
right?
you're like speaking exactly what I hear over and over again from parents. The parents have paid like $1,200 for a league and their kid like has played for 10 minutes. And
Ouch.
it's yeah, yeah. And it's disappointing for everyone, for the kids, and the parents complain and but then the coaches want that win, right? And so yeah, you lose those kids and it shouldn't be about that. And because not only do the kids get disappointed at the lack of playtime, they kind of get disappointed in the sport when it's not necessarily the sport that was a problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it just happened recently with my 8-year-old's team. There's another kid who's an 8-year-old who got bumped down and in his baseball league, and his parents are like, he's done. He doesn't want to play anymore. And he's so good. He's an athlete. He like loved it. And he's just, I mean, he's the type of kid that, everyone would want to recruit on their team, but it just, he got bumped down and then he was done. He's like, I don't want to play anymore. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, yeah, it's like the disappointment is palpable. It's hard to watch. So it's kind of like, okay, how do we make this better?
Yeah.
And
Gosh, that's
yeah, we
tough.
can't, I mean, I could talk about this topic forever, but there's a lot of initiatives to try to explain it. But one of the problems we face is educating parents around this, because as parents, most parents, unless you have a background in sports or athletics, um, are new to the world of fitness sports for children. And so by the time they realize the problems, the kids are older, right? They're like
Mhm.
already 11, 12. So I'm trying to like to pull my teeth to educate parents of like 4 or 5-year-olds, being like, hey, you don't need to go on this track of professionalization of youth sports. Why don't you kind of keep it fun and easy the whole time? And then you won't face this problem. So it's really hard to get that message across when you're not seeing the problem yet. Like it's not affecting your kid yet, but it'll hit you by the time they're 12, 13, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's where, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. You want to get
that's
ahead of
exactly
it.
it. Exactly. And so when you talk to parents of, about 18-year-olds, they'll be like, oh, I wish I did it differently, you know?
Mhm.
So how do you get that message to parents of the young kids when don't have the problem yet?
Yeah,
It's
and that's really tough because I've seen that several times, in my own private practice and, kids, like how many bad experiences will your kid go through before they're just done with it, right? And
right,
then they dig
right,
in, they're like, I'm shutting down, I'm in my shell, like I don't know, I don't want to play sports. I don't want to go outside. Like I don't want to do any of this because they know how painful it has been in the past. So
right.
your kids are learning through these experiences. So if those early experiences, if they're positive or negative, that really has a huge impact on the kind of
Yeah.
course that your kid is on.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's also about, you got to know the psychology of children a little bit, right? Like there's all this talk about, we're going too soft on kids, like everyone gets a trophy, and there's those types of talks. But on the other hand, there is an age, and the range is up to about 6 or 7, even 8 years old, where if kids don't feel success, they're not going to continue. So now there is an age group of kids, the older kids, where it's a little, you don't need to give every kid a trophy. But for younger kids, when you help them feel success and feel confident, they're going to want to keep playing. And sometimes parents and even coaches don't really understand that. Your goal as a parent or coach is to make it so fun, make them feel so confident that they want to continue in the next season and they want to keep playing. Your goal isn't for them to learn some sort of big life lesson at 6 years old. That's not going to happen, about winning and losing and bucking up and things like that. Like, that's not going to happen. Your goal is to give them the love of learning and the love of playing.
Okay, such a great
Yeah.
point. The love of
Yeah.
learning, the love of playing, you're right, and
Yeah.
building up that confidence is critical. Because
Exactly.
I don't know a parent out there. I talk to parents all the time. It's a
Yeah.
big part of what I do, and they all want their kids to be more confident, right?
Right.
That's like a
Right.
huge issue across the board, right? Kids are kind of anxious, kind of depressed, kind of
Yeah.
down, unsure. Confidence is probably the number one thing I hear from parents, you know?
Yeah, yeah. When it comes to confidence, in my experience, especially around sports, I think competence leads to confidence. So
Right.
as soon as they get competent in skills, they'll feel that confidence. So before you just like sign a kid up for soccer and they've never played before, as a parent, why don't you just play with them at home a little bit? Teach them how to, dribble the ball with their feet, teach them kind of the basics so that they're not, coming in like wide-eyed and, not sure what to do. Give them a little confidence at home so that they feel comfortable enough to where they're willing to try something new. When it comes to, baseball, you can teach them how to properly step and throw, how to, even running properly. A lot of kids aren't doing well.
Mhm.
Like, you think it's a natural, skill that kids have, but some kids don't even run properly. So give them that confidence, those basic fundamental skills, like physical movement skills. Teach them at home as much as you can, which will give them that confidence when they join in group settings.
Yeah. Okay. You are really talking my language here.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. Right. So
yeah.
these experiences, you're helping your kids have these early experiences and they gain skills through these
Mhm.
experiences. And you can do this at home as a family, right? You don't have to learn during game day, right?
Right,
Like
right,
try to
exactly.
like, oh, I'll figure out how to throw and run and jump and
Yeah,
slide, right? You could
yeah.
learn it in a less competitive environment, start boosting up your kids' experience
Mhm.
level and skills, and
Correct.
then they get more confident.
Exactly. Then they feel like, okay, I can handle this. I can approach it in any way.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah.
So, it reminds me of like creating goals, right? Because
Mhm.
that's something I do in my program. And for anyone out there, like for what we're talking about, there's really like two main types of goals. There's the product, right? So that would
Yeah.
be like, how much weight did you just lift, or did you win the game, or, for anyone out, any type of goal, I want to lose 10 pounds
Yeah.
or whatever kind of outcome, right? You're so focused on the outcome. That's your
Right.
product, right?
Right.
And sometimes we're so focused on the outcome. Like, I want you to run this way and I want you to be
Mhm.
faster. I want you to like make that layup. I want you to shoot,
Right.
like your free throw average is too low. Like you got to perform, right? For this
Right.
outcome,
Right.
you have to achieve. And there's so
Right.
much pressure based on that. And then sometimes we're forgetting about the process,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it's more of a process like, okay, what I do a lot with my kids is like we have some outcome goals, right? Like what we're
Yeah.
trying to achieve,
Sure.
but also more importantly is how are we going to get there, right? So using an app
Journey.
like Pickup Sports is
Mhm.
great because using the app, maybe your goal, right? For any parents listening, maybe the goal should be something more like using the Pickup Sports app. My goal is for my kid to be physically active twice a week with
Right.
a
Right.
structured physical activity.
Right.
right? That is
Yeah,
the goal, right? The
that's the
goal
goal.
is to get engaged,
Exactly. Get engaged,
right?
get outside, get playing. Right. Yeah, that's the goal. Oh, yeah.
That's the goal. Exactly.
Yeah.
The goal is for
Yeah.
you to get out there, to be with your friends, to be moving around, having fun. That is the goal,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe start once a week, then go up to
Right.
twice a week, right? You can always
Right.
adjust it, but it doesn't have to be just so focused on the end goal, the outcome, right? So
Exactly.
it's more like, how are we going to get there? And this app sounds like a really helpful resource for busy parents, right? They could get on
Right.
the app, schedule something,
Yeah.
and that is a sort of achievement in itself.
That absolutely. Yeah. And you're right. And you mentioned, get out there and get with friends, get social. That's the other piece of it is that, a lot of kids are, ever since the pandemic, they're just not hanging out with friends anymore. Or kids are feeling more isolated, because they hang out online a lot and not as much in person. So this is another way. I mean, it's kind of another aspect that we are trying to address when it comes to kids is that socialization, build your own kid communities, like just kind of help you find communities because you can also find other pickup games happening in the area and then request to be invited in. So if you're new to a neighborhood and you're looking for, other kids to play with, maybe you can search around and see what groups are playing pickup games. And that's how you can kind of join in and meet other kids. So it's a whole other aspect of the app that we're, addressing when it comes to kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love this. See,
Yeah.
this is
Thanks.
perfect. The
Thanks.
app helps you make the connection,
Right.
so
Right.
that's what it does. It's like the app is not like I don't download the app and I get stronger, right? But I
Right.
download the
Yeah.
app, I can connect with friends and make the scheduling happen, right? And set my kid up for success
Right.
by giving them some structured activity and getting them connected with friends who are in their neighborhood. They're in the same
Right.
age range,
Right.
especially if you're moving, you're new,
Yeah.
that's
Exactly.
such a helpful resource. So is there like a specific age range that, would be right for the app, or is there like different groups of ages? How does that work?
Yeah. We're our sweet spot we've noticed is about 8 to 14, which is a wide range. But we're kind of splitting them up like kind of elementary and middle
Mhm.
school. When it comes to elementary school, um, I have an 8-year-old now, so I know the marker point, like really 7 and younger, it becomes very much the parent has to be totally involved. Around like you can get a mature 7-year-old, but then 8 and up, they can be a little more independent when it comes to sports, without a lot of parent instruction. And obviously the app is being used by parents and not kids because most kids don't have a phone. But when it comes to games, we're really focusing on those groups. I've seen more success with the older kids, because of the independence that the kids have, right? Like they're able
Mhm.
to self-organize and come up with their own games a little easier and run with it a little better. So, technically any group could use the app,
Mhm.
but as we grow and scale, we're going to be focusing kind of on that like upper middle school, I'm sorry, upper elementary, younger middle school age group. And then we'll see, maybe we'll expand outside of that, um, as it grows.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, you got to start somewhere, but I'm
gotta
sure
start somewhere.
there's so much potential, but
Yeah,
starting out, you want people to be able to find kids like their own age, in
right,
the right group.
right.
So, uh, tell me more about like the different sports and activities that people are getting together to do, like through the app.
Yeah. Yeah, again, we're in the early stages. We just launched the app in November.
Oh
The
wow.
kind of like yeah, so we're still pretty early. We've been working on it for longer than that, and kind of we were testing different versions of it before that, so we know it works. But um, the I'm sorry, you were asking about
The activities,
the
like
activities. Okay,
yeah.
yes, sorry. So when it comes to the sports, we're starting with field sports, so soccer, baseball, and flag football. And the reason behind that is that you don't have to reserve a court somewhere. You don't need to find a basketball court or a tennis court. or volleyball court. So field sports can be done pretty much anywhere. So we're focusing on those three for now. You can just, create a soccer game anywhere. Obviously, eventually I would love to add in basketball, tennis, pickleball, anything. But
Mhm.
right now we gotta focus on what's reachable. When it comes to courts, then we'll have to start, adding in facilities and, that whole piece, which can become complicated. Or so we're not ready that yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah,
adds a whole nother layer to it, because then you need a court, you need,
yeah,
tennis, basketball, whatever. And
right,
then, different courts might even have different rules on who could use it and how do you
exactly,
reserve the time? Do you have to pay? Do you need a permit?
right,
It it gets to be a bit of a headache.
right, right.
So you got these different activities to start out with. And
Yeah.
so you reminded me of some other stuff like, what I do is different because it's not a sport,
Yeah.
so I'm interested about physical activities that go beyond the typical team sports. Is
hmm
there any potential to use the app for something like, what if we're riding bikes or doing some other
Yeah.
general activity?
Yeah. I've definitely thought about that. And I've gotten that feedback before. Like if you want to just find a group of kids to ride a bike with, just go dirt biking or whatever. Um, technically you could still set that up in the app. I mean, you
Okay.
could do that, but we're not, from a marketing perspective, we're not, promoting that yet. We got to
Mhm.
start somewhere. Um, but yeah, I do think that there is potential for a number of activities. It could be dance, it could be, anything that requires kids in groups. Um,
Right.
could be
Exactly.
done. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. Kids in
yeah,
groups. And so, yeah, I wonder, like, if I was a parent and I download the app, so just a little bit more uh, about how it all works.
yeah.
Do I create events and I invite other people on
Yeah,
like a
yeah. So
schedule?
yeah, so that's a good question. So kind of the flow of how it would work is you download the app. You can either create your own group, like your neighborhood. You can put your neighborhood name, your whatever name. You could have like
Mhm.
Jason's buddies, as your name of your group. And then, kind of write in a description like, we're a fun group, we're laid back, we just want to meet on Saturdays, whatever you want to write about your own group. And then you pick your sport, or it can be like freestyle, which is an option there, which means like you can play anything. And then you pick your date and location and time that you plan to meet. And then you invite your friends in. And then once your friends get the invite, they can invite other people, but those people won't be added in until you approve them. So that's a security measure.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to kids, security is really important. We don't want, weird people finding out there's a group of kids playing at a park. So from an outside perspective, like if I was a stranger downloading the app, I can't see the exact location of where any of these groups are meeting unless I was accepted into those groups. So I just know that they're within, I think, a 7 mile radius. There's groups meeting, but I won't know the exact location until you're invited in
Okay, that's
or you're
great. I
accepted
mean, I
in.
think that's
Yeah,
going to help parents feel a lot more comfortable with it, So like,
yeah.
no, there's not like some strange guy who's like, I'll download the app. It's going to tell me right where everyone's at, and I'll just,
Yeah, I'll know exactly where the kids are playing. Yeah, no, there you can't do
guys, like, what are we?
that.
Oh, cool. I brought my bike. Like,
Yeah.
okay, so that's great. You're inviting specific people, and then
Mhm.
there's like some networking. You can invite
Yeah,
others, so that helps more people get
exactly.
involved.
And then you kind of have like your set pod of people.
Yeah.
And then every time you want to play, send out a message saying, hey, we're going to play next week instead. Or what if it rains and it moves?
Mhm.
So you can kind of change the schedule and then people can mark whether they're coming or not. And so you can kind of get an idea of who's attending or who's coming.
Excellent. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
great. That's
Yeah.
great. Exactly. This will help a lot.
Yeah.
Logistically,
Yeah.
that's just such an issue, So now you can download this app, get your
hmm
kids, involved, invite other friends, and
Yeah.
yeah, keep it growing from there.
Right.
And just imagine, like, because a lot of these kids, they're so stuck online and it's so isolating, especially if they're
Yeah.
not playing sports. It's like the difference between having like basically no friends versus
Mm-hmm.
having like two
Ooh,
friends
yes,
is
yes.
huge.
It's huge.
It's huge.
Yes. I completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And we just need to make it easier for them to find those people, right?
exactly. Yeah,
Everyone needs to find their people and, not everyone finds them at a young age, but you got to find at least one person that, or help them find one person. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was looking a little bit about this online, and now what about like adding that structure here? You mentioned like families, you could be hosting your own event, right? Like
Mhm.
maybe you have, some activity in your own backyard you want to invite
Yeah.
people to, or like some families they got a park, maybe they could walk
Right.
to it. That's like a good like no-brainer like
Right.
meetup spot.
Yeah.
And so are the kids gonna be sort of leading the session, the structure? Is it like up to them? Like, all right, now we have a day and a time,
Yeah.
or is there somebody like, are the parents usually in charge over like the actual, you know,
Yeah. The actual
event?
play.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. We're kind of testing different ideas here. Um we try to give kids as much autonomy as possible, but we need parents there to watch out safety or things get out of hand, like, but he
Mhm.
won and I didn't, like those are like little arguments that sometimes can last too long if,
They would
little
never
argue.
argue about
No, why would they do that?
what
Yeah.
are you talking about?
Yeah, yeah. But from a safety perspective, we do need parents there. We'd like kids to take ownership as much as possible. We would like, 1 to 2 kids be the kids in charge, really, like in charge of that game. Um, but we're playing around with different ideas. When I originally launched it, I had parents in charge. And then I found that it's hard to give them parents that message that this isn't like a huge task you're undertaking, and it just felt like it was difficult to find the parents that are ready to take on one more thing. And even though I don't feel, me personally, this is actually easier than taking on like driving kids to organize sports, but it's hard to get that message across. But then I found that there were a good number of like 4th and 5th graders that were taking charge themselves, like more than the parents. So that's when we kind of, okay, let's shift our messaging. Let's give these kids the opportunity to be leaders,
Yeah.
and let them self-organize, but the parents just need to be there to oversee and make sure nothing crazy happens.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
Yeah.
that is great. Because now, what are we gonna do? I don't know. What do you want to do? And so
Mm.
having
Yeah,
somebody
yeah,
who
yeah. So
can
we are, yeah. So in that
guide it.
sense of like, what do you want to do when you create your event, you do pick what you're gonna do. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, are you playing flag football? Are you doing this? Are you doing, yeah, you pick what you're
Hmm.
gonna play. And there's points based on, the play and stuff. So it'll incentivize them to actual play rather than just showing up and doing nothing. Um,
Yeah.
and then
Exactly. So how long does that usually last for? Is that involved in like when you set the play date up? Is it for a specific duration, or do you just kind of go and, however
Yeah,
long you
so
want?
we do have a start and end time. It's really up to the person creating it. So
Hmm.
it's there. Usually we've noticed it's been about an hour and a half. At the most, sometimes, a little longer because they're all a group of friends just hanging out, right? But the actual play, like the first, I would say 10 to 15 minutes, the kids are like figuring out what to do. And, so the actual play doesn't start for 15 minutes, or people are late and, things like that. So
Yeah,
it ends up
setting
being
up
about an
and
hour.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And then the other thing we're kind of playing around with right now is getting older kids, like high school juniors and seniors, to lead these pods. So they can go in, and we're just testing this out now, starting in March. When we've recruited some high school football players actually to go in and create their own like flag football games, and then have kids show up and see. And then for kids, it's like exciting to see like their local high school football players, and those players are gonna kind of show play and give them more skill developments. Great for the high school kids because they, are giving back to the community, so it helps them as well. So we're also kind of playing around with that idea.
Exactly. It's funny because I was going to make that exact suggestion.
Oh
I
yeah,
think,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Because I
Yeah,
work with some of the kids, they're older, they're like the teenagers, they're sort of like
yeah,
on their own squad. And then I
yeah,
have the younger kids. And so it's cool because this is like an opportunity for some leadership,
yeah,
like you could be building up your experience, if you're a high school
right.
kid, you're helping, you're in the community, working with other kids, maybe
Yeah,
you are like, someone who does have experience, like you've got skills you could teach, you have more
yeah,
experience, you play basketball, you're like, all right, we're going to do some dribbling drills, then we're going to shoot
yeah.
free throws, then we're going to do a little scrimmage game, right?
Right,
And,
right.
high fives all around. Hey, great job. I'll catch you next week.
Yeah,
And we're out of here. So that's a great
yeah,
opportunity, I think, for some of the older guys,
yeah.
and it helps them, helps them build confidence. Like, okay,
Right.
I'm
I can
building
do
up
this.
some
It helps them feel
leadership
good.
skills.
Yeah. They feel great. They can add it to their resume if they're applying for college.
Yeah, that exactly. I was thinking that as well.
Yeah,
Exactly. You
yeah.
could add that to your resume. It's sort of like community service hours,
Right.
right?
Right.
You're volunteering, you're involved in the community, something you could write
Exactly.
about in like a personal essay,
Right,
like
right.
I like to give back, I like to be involved. And, through the Pickup Sports app, this is how I've been able to give back to my community.
Right, right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's what we're testing out that idea. I mean, I love that idea of, having older because younger kids, for them, high schoolers are way cooler than parents. So they're not going to want to hang, they don't want their parents coming in and telling them what to do, doing all these, skill-based things, unless you happen to be you happen to have a parent who's like a professional athlete. So,
Yeah.
so they would much rather learn from, even if you are an athletic parent, kids don't want to learn from you.
Can confirm. I will
Yes,
tell you.
yes.
I can That's another thing I see across the board. Like even when
Yeah,
the parents and the kids, they're doing the same sport or the same
right.
activity sometimes,
Yeah,
and the parents and the kids, it's better for everybody because they'll still get like private lessons sometimes,
yeah.
right? So like I had that experience because instead of really growing up doing all like the mainstream sports, I got into jujitsu, and
Okay.
later on, had the opportunity to help as an assistant coach for some of the kids in the
Uh-huh.
kids class. And we would do some private lessons as well. So it's another physical activity. It's not like the same as like a little league,
Sure. Yeah.
soccer or something like that, right? But it's an
Yeah.
alternative way to get moving and build confidence. And
Yeah.
there were dads though. Why is this kid in the program, right? Dad's been doing jujitsu, and then their kids are signing up. The kids are in the program. And of course, you have adult classes and you have kids classes. And then wait a minute, my kid, maybe they need to prepare for like a promotion test.
Right.
They want to get stripes, they want to get belts. Well, it's like your dad trains jujitsu. Your dad, you know what I'm saying? Your dad's been
Yeah. Yeah.
training for like 5 years, 10 years,
Yeah.
what, who knows? But
You can
still,
work with them. Yeah.
these kids are crazy. They don't want to listen to me. They don't want, it's like
Yeah.
chaotic, like they're goofing off, they're not paying attention. It
Oh
depends.
my God,
But
that's
when you
exactly it.
change, like you got somebody else who's the coach and the trainer, like changing the messenger helps
Oh,
people get the message.
yeah, 100%. I love that story. It's been exactly my experience. My husband is actually a top tennis player. Like he plays national tournaments and
Wow.
everything. And he's really good. People drive like 3, 4 hours to come see him and work with him and get his advice. And then my kids are like, why would they do that? Like it just
Yeah. Like I'll pass.
well, I don't want to work
Dad,
with you. No. Yeah.
I don't want to listen to you. Like what? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So getting your kids, some coach,
Hmm.
right? Whether or not it's like all the rigid sports stuff, it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be so competitive, but they've got someone they're looking up to, they're learning from, and that goes
Yeah.
back full circle. They're gaining experience,
Yeah.
they're learning skills, and as a result, they gain confidence,
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Exactly it.
Which is what
Yep.
we want.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. This is really exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
We're wrapping up soon here, but I want to know so much more. And
Yeah.
I'm also curious about, some of the families I know, maybe getting on the app, connecting with each other.
Yeah.
They've made friendships in my program. Maybe they want to get together outside of the sessions,
Yeah, that's a
and
great
as
idea.
well as, yeah, adding other activities into it. So, is it
Yeah.
like, well, you mentioned something about, you know, being able to schedule an event, and it could be I could pick an activity from the list or do like a freestyle activity,
Yeah, yeah, we
right?
added the freestyle because I was like, well, what if someone just wants to play anything? So
Right.
it just says free play.
Free
Um,
play. Just
yeah,
that's a
yeah, yeah.
powerful concept right there.
Right, right, it is. Free play
Free
is a powerful
play.
Yep, exactly. So you can pick from that. As I update, the app and add more features, I'm just gonna get feedback from users, and if they want to see something else, then we can add it in. We just have to see how kids want to use it,
Hmm.
but it's just right now it's a list of those three sports and then free play. And then the level of those sports. So are you a beginner, intermediate? Are you really good at playing? So that way you can hopefully be matched up with other kids that are at your same level. But that's kind of how it's been working.
Exciting. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
I'm super interested, as I've developed and I've been running sessions, creating almost like my own version of a sport, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I've
live
heard
action
about that.
fitness, kind of like turning Dungeons and Dragons into a sport that's not a sport,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
that's
It's kind of,
amazing.
yeah, it's the video game that's not a video game,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So,
Maybe we need to get your programming into our app. Like, it's just like, yeah, yeah, we could work together on that. Yeah.
exact, right? That's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's what it is. We've got a fun, exciting activity. And especially for a lot of kids who are not competitive athletes,
Yeah.
that's exactly who I'm trying to reach. For
Right.
both of
Right.
us, we want to get the word out so parents know about the alternatives, right? We have
Right.
other options. Your kid can thrive and build confidence and get moving, even if it's not through all the typical team sport activities.
Right.
So I'd love to chat with you and then see
Yeah.
about even, trying to add live action fitness as another alternative activity where kids can get together and make the connection through the Pickup Sports app.
Yeah. Yeah. They can meet up through the Pickup Sports app, but then they play, the type of program that you're providing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we should definitely chat more about that. That's a cool idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the idea, right? So this is the
Yeah.
activity. This is something they choose to do, right? They opt
Right.
in. They want to do it because it's fun, right?
Right.
And then the
Right.
app is just helping to make all this crazy logistical nightmare smooth
Possible.
sailing. You're just
Right.
streamlining the whole process.
Right.
Who's going to be there, when, where,
Yeah.
what.
Right.
Now it's all taken care of through the app, and it's game on.
Yeah, yeah, I love it.
That sounds like a match
Let's
to
get these
me.
kids playing, let's get them moving and getting them connected. That's what we want in
Yeah.
the end. Yeah.
Okay, this is perfect. So, Lakshmi, thank you
Yeah.
so much again for being on. And where can people go to learn more and get the app and all that?
All right. Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, the website is pickupsports.co, just .co, no M at the end. And there are links to download the app right on the site. It's available on iOS and Android. So feel free to download it or just connect with me either through the site or through Instagram. Yeah, I think you could also just email me directly. I'm pretty friendly, so feel free to email me. My email address is Lakshmi, that's LAKSHMI @pickupsports.co. But thanks for having me on, Jason. We'll definitely stay connected.
Absolutely. Thanks
Yeah.
again. I love it. All right.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye.